Like it. Alright, ready, set, go.
Hello, my name is William Upton. I'm a geology student. I have studied water conservation extensively, and I'm going to tell you why our current rate of consumption is completely unsustainable in regards to water conservation. So I ask you, how many gallons of water would it take to make 1 pound of beef? The answer is a surprising 800 gallons for every 1 pound of beef. And a pound of beef is something that an average American might eat on a weekly basis. Now, when water conservation is taught, most of the time it's always, take a 2 minutes off of your shower. So instead of a 3-minute shower, just a 1-minute shower. But if you look at the math, that doesn't really make any sense. So according to Home Water Works, a shower uses about 2 gallons per minute. So if you take 2 minutes off, that's 4 gallons per day, which comes out to 28 gallons per week. But if you just cut out 1 pound of beef, that's a whopping 800 gallons less of water. Water is also not made evenly. So the total water supply, according to USGS, the percentage of it that is surface water is less than 1%. And most water, up to 75% of water withdrawals, come from surface water, specifically rivers. Rivers only make up 2/10,000th of a percent of our global water. And that is where we're getting 75% of it from. So I'm just going to talk about some regions of the world where our rate of consumption has absolutely eviscerated these areas. The first area I'm going to talk about is the Aral Sea. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union decided to create a large agricultural plot in what used to be a desert by diverting 2 major rivers. The crop they chose were mostly cotton and other crops that are very, very water intensive, and they're just not suited to an arid climate. Now, over the next decades, the Aral Sea had lost up to 90% of its surface area due to this diversion and all the systems of levees, canals, and dams. And what's worse is that the area where the water receded is completely unarable due to the salinity. The Aral Sea used to be the 4th largest inland body of water, and it used to provide 1/6 of the fish catch for the entire Soviet Union and provide 40,000 jobs. All these ecological services are just now gone due to short-sighted idea of growing crops that don't belong in a desert. And that is according to Brian Howard Clark in his article, "The Aral Sea's Eastern Basin Dry for the First Time in 600 Years." Now, you might think that it'd be an isolated incident, and nowhere in America would we think it would be a good idea to grow crops in a desert and to divert a river system to irrigate that. Well, you'd be wrong. The Colorado River ran from its headwaters in the Rockies to the sea for 6 million years. That was until 1999. So the problem started in 1922 when President Hoover met with representatives of 7 of the states in the Colorado watershed about how to best divvy up the water and use it to irrigate the nearby farmland. Over the next couple of decades, our consumption, specifically with cattle and cattle feed, created a huge need for vast plots of agricultural land, and we chose to plant that in the desert. As with the Aral Sea, most of these crops are not suited to an arid climate, and that as of 1999 and on, those 7 states combined use up the entire Colorado River. It stops 80 miles short of the sea, where it had flown to for 6 million years, and the 3,000 square mile delta is dried up and most of the life is now gone. Now you might ask, since rivers seem to be the issue, what if we source it from a different source? Well, groundwater is the other large contributor of where we source our water, but that comes with many of its own problems. So the Ogalla Aquifer, my information about the Colorado River is according to Peter McBride in his documentary, The Colorado Running Near Empty. Now, as I was saying, the Ogalla Aquifer, it covers 174,000 square miles of the U.S. heartland, and it is farmers have relied on decades to irrigate their crops. And it's been fairly closely studied by the USGS. And in 1980, in parts of northern Texas, it was determined that farmers were taking up to 6 feet of it per year. Now, for reference, over a course of a year, the aquifer naturally recharges about half an inch. So that means that these farmers are using the water 144 times faster than they could be replenished. It's been determined that today it would take upwards of 6,000 years for natural processes to recharge the algal aquifer, and we've only been seriously using it for about 40 or 50 years. And the problem seems to be getting worse. The problems with depleted aquifers continue. With the water actually supports the ground above it, so when they pull the water out, it actually makes the ground sink. In some places over 100 feet in a couple of decades. And it creates sinkholes and karst topography in places where it should not. And that is according to Jane Braxton Little from Scientific America. And the other huge issue with aquifers is the chance for it to be contaminated. There is a study by the Chinese Scientific Institute in Beijing, and Han Dongmei surveyed 4,896 wells from across 202 Chinese cities, and it was determined that 61.5% of those wells had been contaminated at a class 4 or 5. And for reference, a class 4 means it's unsuitable for human contact, let alone consumption. And this has been fueled by the increase in the consumer market of China, which Business Insider says it will quickly grow to be the largest global consumer market. And it is estimated that the Chinese middle class by the year 2022 will reach 550 million. So that will be more than the US population consuming on levels similar to Americans. So this problem will only get worse. So in conclusion, our need to consume leads to horrendous treatment of our water resources, and the vast majority of the withdrawals coming from rivers, which make up 0.2% of the global water, according to USGS. And the problem at the end of the day is us as consumers. If we don't stop consuming, we're going to run out of water.